Can you hear me? Hello? I cannot hear you. You're muted. You're muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think after 1 minute you can start, okay? Just exactly
Yes, sir.
12:05, okay?
जी sir.
You're not audible actually.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right now you are audible. You can go ahead.
I was actually just practicing.
Okay, no problem.
So should I go live?
You can start.
Should I start?
Yes, I think you can start.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Maham Tabassum. I am the development assistant of the national team of SCOMI IFMSA Pakistan. Today, I'll be assisting Dr. Aamir Abbas in the research webinar series. These series have been going on for a while, and this is the third episode of that series. And for a little bit of an introduction, Dr. Aamir Abbas is an epidemiologist, and he's a former member of IFMSA Pakistan. He has worked as the Secretary General of IFMSA Pakistan as well as the Regional Assistant of Asia Pacific. He has also worked in the research faculty of Aga Khan University, and currently he's studying analytics and IT from a university in USA. Today he'll be talking about literature review in research. So, sir, would you like to come live now? He'll be joining you in a minute.
Okay, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, so thank you very much for giving me this opportunity once again, and for allowing me to talk to you people on from the platform of IFMSA. So what I would do, I would just adjust my screen, and Maham will remain with us, but she will not be visible to the audience. Uh, for those of you who are watching this session live, what I will do as I'm adjusting my screen for this presentation, I would request you people to comment whether am I audible, if there is any problem listening to me. Just so the first question to you people is, are you able to listen to me correctly or not, clearly or not? So if you are able to listen to me, just say yes in the comments. And as you people respond to that, because as I'm talking through with the help of the Be Live platform, there is always a lag, and I will adjust my screen for this presentation. And Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, okay. I'm also seeing replies from people. So I'll go ahead with my presentation. So the way this presentation will go ahead will be much different from the previous presentations, because this is a topic which will require a lot of hands-on exercise. So I have divided this topic into two parts, and today we will be talking about the first part of the two-piece talk series on literature search. In the first part, what I will do, I will talk about some conceptual, some terminology related to literature search. There are some terms, some of you might have heard them, but I'm assuming that because you're medical students and these topics are not commonly taught in medical colleges. So I'm assuming that many of you might be hearing these terms for the first time. And I want to take this process slow by just introducing these terms. They may be very simple terms, but it's very important as we go towards the hands-on part of this exercise, you understand these terms. So the main objective of today's discussion, and it will be a short discussion, will be to introduce a few terms to you, which we will use subsequently during our discussion and doing a hands-on exercise to demonstrate how do you do literature search for a particular topic. And before I start my topic for today, those of you who are online, I want you people to comment on the fact that what is the reason, why do we do literature search? I repeat, uh, and I emphasize that this online teaching is quite different. One way may be that one reason might be because when I talk, there is always a lag. So, as opposed to a face-to-face discussion where I will point to individuals, uh, I will get a response and I can elicit a response as well. But in this situation, this is a very different type of interaction. So, as I'm repeating, I will repeat my question. The question is that why do we do literature search? And please put your answers in the comment. And as I'm waiting for the answers, what I will do, I will just go through what we talked till now. We talked about research questions. We talked about different aspects of the research question, that what is a good research question. We talked about the fact that research question is the first step in starting a research project. We talked about different criteria to criticize research question. We talked about the scope of the research question. We talked about depth model. We talked about the terms which are association and causation, and the fact that there are different terms. Then we talked about two criteria, which was the PICO criteria, and one was the final criteria. And if you are interested in these aspects, I would request you people to go back to the previous discussions. That was the first session. In the second session, we talked about the link of the research question with study design, and we talked about what terms in the stem of the research question direct the choice of the study design. So that was the second topic we talked about, and again, these are available on IFMSA's YouTube channel, and as well as my YouTube channel as well. You can access them through both of them. And today we are going to continue this series with the help of a talk on literature search, because that's an important step in the research process. Having said that, we have one response, and let's read that. So we do, Maha is saying that to know all aspects of our research topic and get to know the gaps that exist. I think that's a very good response, I would say. Yes. So I classify literature search into two parts. One part of the literature search is, as we talked about, the research question. So one part of the literature search is to come up with the research question, and the second part of the literature search is once you have formulated your research question, you want to know all of that. So I think, yeah, this is a very good response. In a way, literature search is done to identify the gap. So that is one which you do before you finalize your research question, because once you have identified the gap you in the literature, and that you do by doing the literature search, and once you have identified the gap, what you do, you formulate a research question, and then after formulating a research question, you also have to do some literature search with another objective, which we'll talk about, which we are not going to talk today, but we might get an opportunity to talk about that in subsequent sessions. So there is another comment. Let me go through that, and after that, we will move towards our slides. So it's saying because it is a research and we have to research and read the literature so we can develop on it. I will The term, I mean, so there are two components of this comment. One is, uh, I think that is a wrong understanding, I will say, of the understanding of research as research. Okay, uh, that's perhaps at some places it's taught like that, but you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, but um, I agree with the second part of this comment that we need to read the literature, identify a gap, and to develop on that. And with that background, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead with my slides. And as I told you that this will be a short presentation, uh, but it will give you a comprehensive understanding of some of the basic concepts of uh, related to literature search. So these are the objectives of these two sessions in combination. And what we'll be talking about in these two sessions, we will be talking about the steps of literature search, the terms which we call as the mesh, MESH. What do we mean by that? Some database search techniques, uh, conducting uh, search in PubMed, and accessing the literature. So these are the objectives for our two these series of lectures which we'll be doing on literature search. So first of all, what we'll do, we'll start with a problem actually. And as I'm talking about this thing, I will take this very problem as an example, which is intubating pediatric head injury patients in the pre-hospital settings. I will use it in this session, and I will convert. I will tell you that if you have to do literature search on the basis of this topic, how would you do that uh, uh, in your as a hands-on exercise? And I will also explain concepts with the help of this problem. And in between, if there is any question, please drop the question in the comments, and I will be stopping again and again in between to see if there are any comments or not. So first of all, these are the important steps which we have to remember. You have to break down the problem into concepts. Then you have to identify keywords. You have to search the concepts separately in PubMed. You have to combine the concepts in an advanced search, and then uh, you have to filter the results. So it may sound a bit arbitrary, but it will become clear when I do so with help of an example. So the theoretical, uh, there will be some theory associated with the lecture, but the theory in this lecture is to understand some of the terms which I'm interested in. So as I'm talking about, as I told you that I'm using this particular statement as intubating pediatric head injury patients in the pre-hospital settings. Let's assume this is this is a problem about which we are interested and we want to do literature search on that. So what are the different concepts in this statement? One is intubating, second is pediatric, the third is head injury, the fourth is pre-hospital setting. So how do I go ahead with it? For example, I choose one of them, which is intubating. First of all, we have to move step by step. Uh, there are people who underestimate Google, there are people who underestimate Wikipedia, and there are people who even underestimate Google Scholar. But I think uh, a good way will be to use all of them, but you need to know what is good in each one of them. So for example, if I use the word intubation or intubating, what I do, I will go to Google first of all, and what Google will do, it will tell me, it will give me a bit of idea, and my specific idea to go to Google will be to find out what people say, what different terms are used for intubation or intubating or that concept. Then I will show you in a minute that how I can limit my search in Google to different websites, which are government websites or educational websites or organizational websites. What that will do, it will identify, like when you go to Google and Google search a term in Google, what it will do, it will pick some government websites, some educational websites, some organizational website, but it will also pick a blog. It will also pick a social media, uh, or somebody has commented on that thing on social media, and it will it will pick everything. So if you want to refine your search and make identify good sources from sources which may not be that good, you have to use a small trick which I'm going to tell you right now. Then how is Wikipedia useful? What Wikipedia does is that I will always caution you when I'm talking about Wikipedia, never, ever, ever cite Wikipedia in your scientific search. What I mean by that, if you're making a scientific presentation, if you're writing a paper, if you're doing anything scientific, if you're presenting in a conference, never give the reference of Wikipedia. But what Wikipedia will do, it will give you a bird's eye view of that topic. That's one thing. So if you go to Wikipedia, if you choose the link of Wikipedia from your search, it will give you a bird's eye view of a particular topic. And the second thing is, which I'm going to demonstrate right now, at the end of the description from Wikipedia, you'll get a huge list of references which may be very useful. Some of them may be scientific, others may be newspaper letters, some of them may be books. So you have to manually see what is important from you. So, but Wikipedia may be a very useful starting point for you to get a bird's eye view of a particular concept. Then I go to Google Scholar, and in the same way, I will also get some idea about the different terms and different types of studies which are being done in that particular area related to a particular word or a particular concept. In order to demonstrate what I have said, I will have to show it actually on Google and then go to Wikipedia and share my screen over there. But before that, what I will do, I will just pause for a minute and see if there are any questions or comments. Okay, so if there are comments or questions related to this, what I will request to people uh, to type in the comments, and in between, what I'm going to do next is just to demonstrate what I just said. So I'm going to first share my Google. Uh, I'm going to hide my presentation for a minute. Just a minute, bear with me for a minute. And so this is the Google. Let me just change it to Google. As I told you people that you have to start with Google. Okay, and this is simple Google website which is open in front of you, and as you'll use this, all of us use it, but there's a proper way of using it when you're using it for scientific research or scientific literature search. So, and what I'm interested in is our first concept, which was intubating or intubation. Okay, so what I will do is I will type intubation in Google, and some results will open up. And as you can see, that there are many things related to intubation and so what you can do is identify some of the alternate terms which we can use. For example, it's saying endotracheal intubation, that may be one of the term. Then you may come up you can come up with some of the more details, and so some of the related terms, tracheostomy versus intubation. So I can go further and see things, and I can choose manually what makes sense to me. And what essentially you are doing, you are identifying alternate terms for yourself. Uh, Mainly the tracheal intubation is coming out, so maybe it's relevant that you look into intubation as well as tracheal intubation in this context. But what now I'm interested in, which I'm doing next, is very important, and perhaps most of you will not know that, is uh, that I'm interested in, uh, for example, I'm interested in intubation, the word, And after the word incubation, what I do, I give a space and I type site, site, site. Then I have this uh, semicolon. I exactly do not know what you call this, but you can see what it is, and you can point to the keyboard key from this. It is just with the key when when you press Shift uh, and press the key where there is semicolon, you will be able to point and will be able to get these two dots. And after that, you have a comma, and then if you put org, then what I'm getting right now is, now if you see, there are all the websites that are ending with org, which means that all the organizational websites are getting opened. Now, what difference does it make? Let me explain, but let me demonstrate it to you. If I end it with edu, and you will get all the educational websites, which are the websites from different institutions, different universities, and things like that. And I can also end it with gov. So what it will do, it will open all the government websites right now. So what does it do? I mean, the educational websites, the organizational websites, these are something, these will have a bit more serious content and you may want to see them. And if you limit your Google search to these websites, then it will be easier for you to identify serious versus non-serious comments. Not comments, but material. This was the second thing which I wanted to demonstrate. Now I want to demonstrate like how to use Wikipedia. So I'm just going to search, simple search incubation, and I am assuming that a Wikipedia link will open. Or what I will do, I can also type Wikipedia with it so that I can get the exact Wikipedia link. Okay. So I'm going to open the Wikipedia link, and I'm going to pause for a minute to see if there are any questions. There are no questions right now. So as the Wikipedia link is opened, as you can see, you can find out again that you chose the word intubation, but it's also linked with tracheal intubation, so that might be important. Uh, like you would want to search both of them. First of all, like some of the papers might have used the term intubation, but some other papers might use the term combination of tracheal intubation. And we are going to talk about how to use this combination in the subsequent part of our discussion. But what I was telling you, that if you just give a bird eye view to this Wikipedia page, you will get a comprehensive understanding, as well as you will understand that what are the different aspects of this topic. And if you go to the end of it, all of these references, some of them will be scientific references, that will be simple newspaper articles, some of them will be book references. So you can choose some of the references from there. And if you find a fact from the body of the Wikipedia article useful, then go to the reference of that article and read that article and cite that very article rather than citing the Wikipedia page. I will emphasize again that never ever uh, cite Wikipedia as your reference. It will not sound good, and it will uh, if you do that in a scientific settings, then things will go in a way where you will not want them to go. And having said that, I will encourage you people, I will want you people to comment what you people think. If you people have any other things to say related to that, if you have any comment, if you have any questions, because I always like to make these sessions interactive, and get quite a strange feeling when I'm talking and nobody is saying anything to me. So even if you have a comment, I will request people to say something, whether even like that can be I'm understanding, I'm not able to understand, I agree, I do not agree, anything to make the exercise a bit interactive for me. And as I'm waiting for the comments or questions, I will do, I will move to the subsequent part of our discussion. I'll hide this page, and which was related to it. I'm done with it for the time being, and I will move towards my presentation. And let me readjust my screen, because there'll be a lot of adjusting work when I'm presenting this. Okay, let me see if everything is correct. Yeah. Okay. So we said that what we are going to do over here is that we identify different concepts, and for each one of the concepts what we do now, here it tends to get a bit tricky. So you identify the concept. For each of the concept, what you need to do, you have to go through this list. You need to go to Google, you need to go to Wikipedia, you need to go to Google Scholar. Oh, I forgot to show you Google Scholar, which I will do in my subsequent demonstration. I think my slides are not visible, perhaps. So let me ask Maham if my slides are visible, because are you able to see my slides?
Yes, sir, they're quite visible.
Okay, in the YouTube video which is open with me there, I'm not able to see it. I don't know that what is the problem. I think now it's,
So you could,
yeah.
yeah, you could ask the participants to also let you know, because I have a different view as well.
Okay. I think now it's visible. Yeah, I don't know if that may be a problem for the short time, and now it is because I've uh, it open on a mobile screen with me as well. So just to make sure that everything is right. Okay, thank you. So let me readjust my screen, and in between there's a comment. Uh, Sounds good so far. Thank you very much, Muhammad Ali. I would request everybody to please interact so that I know that I'm talking to human beings live. That's the reason of this all live session. Otherwise, we can also do recording. If you people we do not have back and forth discussion, uh, then these live sessions will not be very useful. So, and bear with me. Okay, and the slides are visible. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much. Uh, and I will be a bit slow in these live sessions because I want to make sure that what I'm saying is understandable to everybody. Um, okay, so the next concept which I want to throw to you people is the medical subject headings. Again, I'm assuming that there will be different levels of people. Some of you might be very much familiar with it, and but others might be hearing this term for the first time. So I have to assume that I have to explain it for everybody. What is the medical subject headings? These are the terms with the help of which PubMed, which is the largest search engine of medical research articles, they understand a concept. For example, if I mean a depression, how would PubMed understand that I'm talking about depression? So that's a way of identifying for PubMed that I'm talking about depression. So in order to demonstrate that, I will go to the PubMed website, and I'm going to share the link of this website in the description as well. Uh, so this is the PubMed website, and what you can do if I've just in order to make sure that this demonstration goes smooth, I've already opened it, but I can provide you people with the link so that you people do not have any problem accessing it. In addition to that, if you see that there is a drop down menu, I've already selected the mesh from it. But if you were searching for mesh headings, make sure that that is already selected, because if you do not select that, you are going to go somewhere else. As I give you an example of depression, so let's just type depression over here. I want to find out how would PubMed understand depression. Okay, so it's going to open and it's going to give me a number of uh, responses. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the first one and see what opens up. And it has a small description, and it says that depressive states usually of moderate intensity in contrast with major depression present in neurotic and psychotic disorders. So this description, so what I said, that you have a concept in mind and then you have a term in mind. So you have to read this description and you have to check whether this is in accordance with your concept or not. If it is not in accordance with your concept, then you go to other. For example, I say that here is a depressive disorder, and I say I read this description, and I keep doing it until I identify the term which is in accordance with my concepts. So I just, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to go into the detail of the first one. I assume that this description satisfies my what I'm looking for, and if I go down, then actually depression is a mesh term. Okay, uh, depression is actually a mesh term, and I'm going to demonstrate with another example as well to make sure that you people understand it. There will be different concepts because it's also going to show you the hierarchy of different terms under which the depression is. So let's, for the sake of demonstration, talk about another concept. Let's say, as in our problem, we had the word pediatric. Let's see how PubMed reads that. Okay, it's going to take a while. I'm going to open the first one, and I'm going to read the description, and it's saying a medical. Let me zoom in so that you people can understand it properly. So, a medical specialty concerned with maintaining health and providing medical care to children from birth to adolescence. I think that satisfies what I mean by pediatrics. And I think now, if you go down over here, pediatrics, then pediatrics has three sub mesh headings, which means that neonatology can also be called as pediatric. Pediatric emergency medicine can also be called as pediatrics, and perinatology can also be called as pediatrics. So whenever you are talking to PubMed or you are trying to retrieve something from PubMed about a problem which has the term pediatrics in it, then you would also want to look for neonatology, pediatric emergency medicine, and perinatology. So this was a small demonstration related to how to identify mesh terms. In this case, my mesh term will be pediatrics, neonatology, pediatric emergency medicine, perinatology. These will all be my mesh terms in this particular case when I'm looking or searching for pediatrics. Let me pause for a minute and see if there are any comments or questions, and then we can move ahead. Okay, so again, if as a repetition, if there are any comments or questions, you're always welcome. I always encourage you people to give me feedback or live, because that's what the main essence of the live sessions is. As I forgot previously to give you a demonstration of Google Scholar, many people do not know about Google Scholar. That's a search engine of uh, uh, a lot of articles are there. And as we talked previously, if I'm going to put in intubation here, it's also give you an idea. And again, I will want you people to use Google Scholar in combination with Google, Wikipedia, um, to get an idea about what is going on in a particular field before identifying the mesh terms and what you would do. So in the form of steps, what I'm telling you people, that you identify a problem, break that problem into concepts. For individual concepts, go to Google, then go to Wikipedia, then go to Google Scholar. And after going to Google Scholar, you will have a list of different terms, and then for each of those terms, identify the mesh headings as I told you people in my demonstration related to the mesh. And if I just want to listen what if people are able to understand this concept or not. So there is a question. Let me see if what is that. So after identifying the mesh terms, we search them separately. uh, yes, we kind of make combination of terms, right? And that's what the hands-on exercise will be. I will not be able to reach to that point in this particular session. In this session, I want to enhance your vocabulary so that you are able to understand the next session. But yes, you are going to combine them, all the concepts, in a way so that it makes sense. And how you do that, but there are going to mesh terms, and there are going to be many concepts. How are you going to combine them? You will get the vocabulary to do that in this session, and you will be able to identify, you will be able to understand that in the form of a hands-on exercise in the subsequent session. Thank you, Maya, for asking this question and uh, and letting me know that okay, you are following me. Okay, so let's move ahead with our presentation. That was related to mesh terms, and okay, let me once again, there's always a back and forth between these sessions, but that's unavoidable. Now I want you people to understand a few terms, which is truncation, quotation, parenthesis, and Boolean operators. And these are the terms, if you understand them correctly, these will uh, help you people to talk to Google, not Google, PubMed in an effective way. These are some concepts, and I will go through them one by one. So, what is truncation? Truncation helps to identify terms with similar spellings. For example, I have intubation, intubating, intubate. Okay, so if you see the some of the spellings are common in all the three terms, right? Like intubate, right? And after the T, letter T, uh, the spellings are varying. For example, intubation has ION after T, and then intubating has different spellings, and intubate has different spellings. So one way is that what I do is I search for each of them individually, which is going to be a tedious process. It's not going to be very efficient, and there'll be many concepts and there'll be many mesh terms, and for each of them, if you are going to do that, it's going to be very difficult. What PubMed has done, it has this concept of truncation. What truncation does is, if I take the common part of the three words, which is this first term, which is intubate, INTUBAT, and I put a star on it, which is if you see your keyboard, the star is where you have uh, you you press shift and you press 8. That's where this star is going to come up. So it's going to truncate, and whatever the um, so it will capture intubation, it will capture intubating, it will capture intubate, and it will capture any other variant of that as well. So that is what is the concept of truncation. uh, the next concept is, just a minute. Okay. uh, the next concept is very simple. It's of quotation mark. For example, if I want to search emergency medicine, right? If I put emergency medicine as such as it is, these are the two terms. So what PubMed is going to recognize it? It is going to recognize emergency as one term, and it's going to recognize as medicine as another term. Okay, then that is going to be quite difficult for you, because you want in your mind the concept of emergency medicine is one thing, right? But PubMed is going to read them as separate things. So an easier way to deal with that problem is to put them in inverted commas. And when you put the two terms or more than two terms, it may be a combination of terms in inverted commas, they will search them together. And it will only identify articles where emergency medicine is used together. I'm going to pause to see some comments and questions over here. Okay, so far no new comments or questions, so I'm going to go ahead. Now, assuming that you people understand the concept of truncation and quotation. Then parenthesis. That's very simple. All of us have done maths, and we have studied maths at least to the 10th grade, uh, to the high school, and that's how it works. If you have concept, for example, if I put something in PubMed in the way as you are seeing on your screen, then what it is going to do, the PubMed is going to read it from inside out. It means that it is going to read child. Now the steric means truncation, so it's going to pick all the variants of child, which means child. It will pick children, it will pick childish, it will pick any other variant of child. And I'm going to talk about this or thing as well in a minute, but the next thing is adolescent. And if I put a truncation over here, it will pick all the variants of adolescent, which mean adolescence, adolescent, and others. And but the important thing is that parenthesis, it's going to search first for the for whatever is inside the parenthesis, and then link it with something which is outside the parenthesis. So it's going to do it exactly in the way as we have studied parentheses in our maths class, and it's going to go from inside out. The next concept is perhaps one of the most, and perhaps the most important concept, which which is Boolean operator. These are different terms. There are three. They're not a lot. There are just three terms: and, or, not. And typically you use them in capitals, all capital, which is A and D, and, or, and not, not. So uh, and I'm going to explain them what do they mean. For example, the Boolean operator and is used to combine two search terms. For example, I am interested in something which is A, and I'm also interested in B, but I'm not interested in them in isolation. But I'm interested in that in paper which mentions both of them. For example, smoking and lung cancer. I'm interested in papers which talks about smoking and lung cancer at the same time. um, so what I will do, I'll say smoking and lung cancers, things like that. Here, as an example from our current topic, which we are talking about, is I'm interested in child, and I'm also interested in head injury. But what I'm interested in is to identify those articles which talk about child and which also talk about head injury. But I'm interested in those articles which talk them at this about these two things at the same time. So if you read this statement as I've structured it, how PubMed would read it, it is uh, child steric, which means that it will identify all the variants of child, which will be children, childish maybe, or childish maybe will not be a very scientific term, but if there is some term, any variant of child will be identified with it. And if you see in the second part, I've put inverted commas to head injury, which means that it is going to take head injury as one thing, as one concept, as one term. And the and in between them is going to do the purpose of combining child with the concept of head injury. And if I put this term in PubMed, what it is going to do is to identify all the papers which have been talking about any variant of child, and at the same time talking about head injury. In other words, I'm going to talk about retrieve papers which will be talking about head injury among children. So this is uh, the Boolean operator of and the second Boolean operator is or, which is uh, quite opposite of and. In what we did in and, we were limiting the research, the search, but in or what we do, we broaden the search. Typically, it is used for synonyms. For example, I'm interested in papers which talk about A, or the papers which talk about B, or the papers which talk about both. Okay, and for example, I came to know of different concepts that uh, I'm interested in a particular age group. So that age group is captured by the term child. That age group is captured by the word pediatric, and again, or infant or adolescent. If, as you can see, that there is a steric sign in front of child, a variant of pediat. So it's using the spellings PEDIATR, and the steric is going to identify all the variants of that, or infant or adolescent. And again, the truncation symbol is used for adolescent. So this, in this way, or is used to broaden the search. And So these are all the concepts which I wanted to introduce right now. We are almost to the end of this session. I think it took longer than I anticipated, which is okay. I think because time allocated for this session is normally for me is it shouldn't go beyond 1 hour, but up to 1 hour is okay. So at this point, I will pause for a minute and I'm going to ask you people, for those who are live right now, ask me questions, give me comments, and at least give me feedback. What was useful, what was not useful, so that I also know that I'm able to communicate right or not. As I'm waiting for comments or questions, what I'm going to do is in the subsequent set of slides is just a repetition of all the stuff, and I will uh, have to emphasize over here that yes, this is a repetition, but this is a strategic repetition, which means that I just want to make sure I will keep on repeating these things again and again. In this couple of in today's lecture, I've been repeating, and I will be repeating the same thing in the subsequent lecture on this topic as well, so that uh, I want to make sure that things go through. So what I've told you people that we are taking this concept, this statement, this problem statement as an example, that is intubating pediatric head injury patients in the pre-hospital setting, and we identified these concepts of intubating, pediatric health injury in pre-hospital setting, and what we do then for each of these concepts, we go to Google, and as I told you that you do a simple Google search to identify different variants of the terms which are used for the concept. Then you do limit the search to educational, organizational uh, websites or government websites. Then you can go to Wikipedia to get a bird eye view of a particular topic. A word of caution again, as a repetition, never ever cite Wikipedia as a source of this, rather never cite that as a reference, but use references within Wikipedia. Some of them those references may be scientific, other may be book references, some of them may be news articles. You have to manually see what is useful, what is not. You can also search a bit through Google Scholar, and all of that will do. It will give you different terms, and you take those terms and you identify mesh headings for those terms. Okay, and after you identify the mesh headings for these terms, I have told you people, I have introduced a number of concepts, which is truncation, quotation, parenthesis, and Boolean operators. And with the help of these concepts, in the next lecture, what we are going to study is how to make a search strategy in a way that you are able to identify exactly the papers which are talking about the concepts in this problem statement. So I think that, having said that, this is the end of my uh, uh, what I wanted to say for the time being. Okay, there is one comment. Okay, and thank you very much. It was very useful. You're welcome. You're always welcome. And then I think there is a question. So let me read this question. I always like questions. What would the benefit of using or operator? Why can't we search the terms separately? Yeah, because if you do, as I will demonstrate it in the subsequent session as well, but as you know that if you have, it will not be, at times it will become so many that it will become an iterative process. And as I demonstrated to you that, so there is a way. What you do, either keep on doing separate searches or combine the statement in a way that you are able to get understand the language and use it in a way to identify papers who are talking about a particular concept. The or is just to avoid being iterative. Okay, uh, just to reduce the work. That's what I would say for the time being. So that's all for the time being. I will call Maham and hand over the stage to Maham, and I'll hide my slides. That's it from my side. Okay, over to you, Maham. Just a minute. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, you can conclude the session.
about research. And yes, if you do have questions, leave them in the comments so that sir could answer them right now during the session. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments so that sir could answer them right now during the session or even after the session, because we're so all your unanswered questions will definitely be answered in those ones. So do follow up and attend that one for sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, take care for the timing, and thanks a lot for all of you who have attended this session live, and also to those who will be attending the recording of this session. Allah Hafiz.